Most kings spend their lives trying to hide their failures. But Raja Paurava, known to history as Porus, was different. Long before modern borders were drawn, he ruled the lands of Punjab between the Jhelum and Chenab rivers. A leader of imposing stature, legend describes him as a 7.5-foot giant. In 326 BCE, he faced the invincible Macedonian army under Alexander the Great at the banks of the Jhelum. The river was a churning beast, swollen by monsoon rains and melting snow. Paurava stood on the eastern bank with 200 war elephants, living fortresses the Greeks had never faced at this scale. Alexander, realizing a direct assault would be suicide, used the roar of a midnight thunderstorm to mask a secret river crossing 18 miles upstream. By dawn, the Indian forces were caught in a sensory nightmare of mud, metallic clashing, and the bellowing of panicked beasts. The Macedonians systematically dismantled the elephant corps using long pikes and axes to target the animals' eyes and trunks. Blinded by pain, the elephants turned back, trampling their own infantry in a high carnival of death. Paurava did not retreat. He stayed atop his elephant, continuing to fire arrows until his army was shattered and he was personally wounded. When finally captured and asked by Alexander how he should be treated, he looked down at the conqueror and demanded, "Treat me as a king treats another king." This was a recognition of shared sovereignty. Alexander was so moved by this dignity that he did not just restore Paurava's lands. He added vast new territories to his rule, eventually making him a sovereign from the Jhelum to the Beas. Alexander explained this to his own troops, not as a surrender, but as a strategic victory. By restoring Paurava, he gained a powerful, loyal ally to secure his rearguard as he pushed further into India. He also founded 2 cities on the spot, Bucephala, named after his horse, and Nicaea, named after the Greek word for victory, to mark the ground where he had technically won. To his soldiers, the land wasn't given back. It was placed under a vassal king who would manage it for the Macedonian Empire. However, the real story began 3 years later, in 323 BCE, when news reached Punjab that Alexander had died in Babylon. Paurava feared that with his rival dead, the only other man who knew the truth of their mutual respect was gone. He worried history would be sanitized into a simple tale of a victor and a loser. To prevent this, he commissioned massive brass murals in Taxila. These plates were brutally honest, depicting the chaos of the elephants and Paurava's own defeat in vivid detail. He wanted the record immutably fixed. These brass tablets were so highly valued that every culture that followed, the Indo-Greeks, the Sakas, and the Parthians, protected and reinstalled them in new temples for over 300 years. When the traveller Apollonius of Tyana visited Taxila in 44 CE, he found these brass plates still brilliant and vivid. Today, however, the tablets are gone. While the ruins of Taxila and the cities of Bucephala and Nicaea still exist, the murals themselves have vanished into history. They were likely lost to the same cycles of decay and treasure hunters that have stripped the ancient monasteries of the region. The very gold and brass the kings used to record the truth eventually became the target of those who cared more for the wealth of the past than its history.